Naveen Zutshi.
All right. Good morning. How's everyone today? All right. Thank you. I've known Moveworks for quite a while. Worked with both Varun and Bhavin, and it was a great set of announcements that they made in the morning. And at Databricks or at previous companies as well over the last decade, I've been focused on a mission of making IT the vanguard of business transformation. And as you think about AI transformation, which over the last 2 years has just accelerated, every company can have IT professionals drive that change within that company. So really exciting time for all of us as professionals and practitioners to be working in AI today. So I'll speak a little bit about both Databricks, but most importantly, really around the agentic AI framework and how we are leveraging that internally, both from a build standpoint as well as a buy standpoint. So show of hands, how many of you know Databricks? All right, quite a few. I was really glad to see that. For those who don't know Databricks, our mission has always been, over the last 12 years, to democratize data and AI globally. We are some of the founders who built many of the open source projects that you love, including Apache Spark, MLflow, Delta, and then Lakeflow architecture, which really brings this notion of lakehouse. And the lakehouse is the best of data warehouse and data lake in one format. So we provide the data format that you can leverage across all the three clouds. So that's a little bit about Databricks. We also have been pioneering in the face of AI and Gen AI. So with that, we announced last year the notion of a data intelligence platform. Because one of the things that we saw customers having big problems with is they were using general large language models to build agentic or RAG Studio or RAG solutions, but they were suffering from a lot of hallucinations, evaluation criteria issues, as well as security and accessibility of data. And the data intelligence platform that runs on all the three clouds on Databricks enables you to build agentic domain-specific agents that will reason with your data and will be secured and managed within your data set itself. So the data doesn't leave your governance, as well as you have the intelligence of the AI platform. Plus, we can abstract away the underlying AI LLM models, so you can test with different models. For example, you can natively test with Llama models or models from Anthropic, or you can also try OpenAI models or Gemini models. So all of that within the same platform. We have quite a few customers. We have over 12,000 customers now and growing. Including them are two of them which are joint customers with Moveworks, GM and Unilever. So I wanted to share a few examples of what these customers are doing on our platform. For example, GM reduces car crashes, emissions, and congestion with data and AI. And then Unilever can provide, in terms of supply chain optimization, it uses data analytics to ensure that. And then one of my favorites is a San Francisco-based company, Zipline, which I don't know how many of you are familiar with. They provide drone delivery to sub-Saharan Africa of critical medicine and medical aid across that. And they use Databricks quite extensively to drive and optimize their routes. Let's talk about Databricks itself. So I joined the company 3 years ago. And at that time, we had around 2,300 employees. And we have gone through massive growth, as you can see. And we have also grown in the number of offices, and the number of employees have grown nearly 250% in those 3 years. We have tried to keep the ticket count, which is the help desk, less than linear to the growth of the company. And we'll talk more about how would we be able to achieve that, because if your growth is linear scale, we would have to have a lot more agents, and we would have to have a lot more tickets that we were actually solving for. And the same thing goes for tool. We have tried to make sure that we are rationalizing the number of apps that we have in the company, and we are being efficient in the way we use technology to drive business productivity. All right, so we heard a lot in the morning about agentic AI. And I think Varun really well described the 3 areas, which is this aggregate agents, autonomous agents, and action agents. And so these 2 examples are primarily examples of aggregate and action agents together. And one is a build example, the one around sales efficiency that uses Databricks as a platform, Databricks Mosaic AI platform to build that. And the second one is the one around Moveworks and using Moveworks. So we took a hybrid approach to building our AI story, which is what some of you have also done, and where we are feeling that we can be a competitive advantage and a disruptor in technology. We are building that on our Databricks platform, and in other cases, we are partnering with companies like Moveworks to build a success story around AI automation. So first, to start with on sales efficiency, what we have done is we have built a product called Ask Mo, which runs on Salesforce, but it can also run separately, and later on, it's also going to have a push architecture around Slack and other channels like email. And it essentially enables our sales to be more productive. So why is that important? For a company like ours, we are hiring over 1,000 go-to-market agents a year. And we have a lot of product innovation. We have a pretty robust product portfolio, and being able to educate them and making them productive on our product portfolio is a really big challenge. And the speed and the pace of innovation is so fast, especially both internally as well as with our customers. We really want to rethink the way sales can be trained and sales can be enabled in the future. And I think the time of having SaaS tools that act as CRUD agents is changing. And you are really looking at now agentic AI solutions that are driving the system of engagement and the system of intelligence. And you will primarily use the SaaS agents more as your system of record. So in that vein, what this sales agent can do, it can create your EBC docs, or it can create your QBR prep docs, or it can look at your attack plan, let's say you're going to a customer meeting, how do you attack, and how do you address the various white space in that customer place. So that's on the sales side. What we measure there is primarily productivity. And on the back office side, we have worked with Moveworks over the years, since 2022, in terms of expanding and focusing on employee experience. So we'll talk more about that next. Overarching all of this is this philosophy of extreme automation. And so that guides our investment decision. So what do I mean by extreme automation? We are primarily managing growth by oversizing sales and R&D while we are automating the rest of the org. And so if you look at our G&A as a percentage of spend over the years, it has progressively come down from double digits to high single digits. And we keep focusing on that. We are also focusing on all the sales overlay functions as well to make sure that they're becoming efficient. And then at the same time, we are focusing on faster and better, which is how can we drive faster growth in our markets, as well as how do we improve quality of what we deliver. So with that in mind, we use something like a model of measuring all the input metrics by each function, and we actually then translate that into output metrics. So it's a philosophy that is similar to what Amazon would do or other companies that do. And the focus there is, take the example of seller productivity. We will look at quote to cash, and we'll look at, hey, we had 0% of no-touch orders 2 years ago, and now we are at 70% of orders that are no-touch. And that is really focusing on this notion of automation on every aspect of what you do. And the same goes for back office, where we are focused on first-time resolution and ticket deflection, which ultimately drives the output metrics of NPS, and will also drive the output metric of how many agents you require for the number of tickets and the number of employees you have in the company. And you can scale that up more. So about IT support itself, what does that mean? Our philosophy on IT support has also been a little different than traditional philosophy. So traditionally, the philosophy around IT support was, hey, we want to take some of the IT support L1 and L2 functions, and we'll outsource them to low-cost locations. And we leverage those low-cost locations to do the initial triage of issues, and then once those triage happens, then we will have it to have more to an SME. In my opinion, that just elongates the SLA. And what most people want is they want immediate help. They want immediate problem resolution. They don't want to wait for days for problem to be solved. And it may not be a Sev-0 problem overall, but it may be a Sev-0 problem to that individual. And so with that in motion, we have basically this notion of genius bar concepts in location, in the various offices, especially engineering offices, and then we have focused on automation and the rest. So the three approaches that we have taken is first, really focus on underlying root cause of issues, not rocket science, everyone probably thinks about that, and have a notion of reducing even the tickets that come in. So over time, in my opinion, a problem is one which never happens. So you are anticipating the problem of onboarding, you are anticipating the problem of offboarding, you are anticipating the problem of movement of employees, and you are building automation which really thinks about birthright access, which thinks about the right access at the right place at the right time, and you're providing that to employees without them having to ask for it. Then low touch is where Moveworks comes in, where we have this bot which enables you to answer questions, aggregate questions, or drive actions. And then high fidelity I talked about is the genius bar concept. So coupled with those three, we can achieve some fairly good results. So let's talk about R2DB first. Yes, it's a play on R2D2. Many of us are fans of Star Wars, especially the original ones. The new ones were not as good, right? Or are you maybe the fans of new ones? So I'll give you a few short demos of what we have done with R2DB. All right, let's start with first is finding quick answers. So R2DB can automate many of your workflows, from looking up information in your knowledge base and providing answers to common questions, to intercepting email requests that look like tickets and finishing them in Slack. So for example, in our model, we don't have phone support. We have only email support and Slack support. And so this allows you to manage those two channels quite effectively. Second, let's say you want to reduce the swivel chair of going to various websites, and you can direct the bricksters, who are our employees, we call the bricksters, to information they need or the action they should take in one place every single day. So for example, here they're trying for transit passes, fare cards. They want to understand what their commuter benefits are. We do have great commuter benefits. And so they will find that information quite easily with R2DB. And then R2DB has a really good multi-turn architecture and a really strong reasoning engine. And so we can use that to truly understand the request and then reason with them based on the employee identity and our internal policies. So you are using those as the governance frameworks. And then you can create a plan, and it can also share its thinking with you. So you can retain content, and it retains context as well as it adapts to new data. So this is an example where you want to get employee verification letters out, and it can do that quite easily and share that, rather than having to create tickets and having HR do that process today for you. It's quite popular with our Bricksters for automating software provisioning. This was an example where we had, in last 6 months alone, we took care of over 2,500 software requests using R2DB. Thank you. And we used it with, it respects the identity and access management. And it also reduces the cognitive load on the agents because traditional software requests can be handled through automation. All right, so we talked about R2DB. We talked about what a great time it is to have agentic AI frameworks. But as many of you know as practitioners, there are a lot of challenges with agentic AI still. One of the biggest challenges is this notion of moving from deterministic models to probabilistic models, right? And in many cases, you want to have deterministic-like solutions to probabilistic problems. And so there, we have done quite a bit of work on evaluation criteria. And even with Moveworks, the example I would share with you is when we moved to the multi-turn agent solution a year ago, we ran into challenges in terms of it finding a different solution than the workflow that it was supposed to pick. And we had to work and partner quite closely with Moveworks to ensure that it is always and consistently picking the workflow rather than picking a solution or an answer to get. But what about the deployment itself? How was the deployment of Moveworks at Databricks? So initially, when we deployed, we took only 8 weeks to deploy. And what we saw is with that speed came some issues. Our initial NPS was only 30. Our deflection rates were under 10%. And we had low usage rates with our employees. So in hindsight, few things that we should have done better. One of them is really have a really strong, clear MVP and automate a lot more workflows in that MVP use case so that you can have a higher deflection rate right off the bat. The other thing which you probably maybe are familiar with, you can use R2DB or you can use your Moveworks agent as a comms vehicle with your employees as well. So one of the things we did is we would send tips and tricks, we would send key announcements through Moveworks itself, and it was a very effective vehicle in sharing with employees on Slack what is new about Moveworks or how you can leverage it better. And then I mentioned, many in the IT orgs are focused on driving with speed, but you need to try to balance that with quality. And some of the things that we are trying to do is really focus on BRDs that are well-written and that are focused on MVPs, and then drive from there. All right, so what are the metrics? So now our NPS score is 70, and we measure it quarterly. Our ticket deflection rate is 73%. So nearly 3 out of 4 tickets are being deflected using R2DB. And then we are basically answering around 3,500 questions a week. More importantly, what does that mean in terms of ROI? So if you look at this looks like a complicated chart, but look at the red dotted line and the red solid line. The red solid line is projection of if we didn't have deflection, how much cost and would we incur on agents. So essentially, our opportunity cost that we are deferring because of R2DB over this next year would be 1.5 million, or equivalent to 17 agents. And in terms of realistic cost also, we have actually reduced the number of agents from 20 to 15. So for a company of 8,000 employees, we have only 15 agents that are using R2DB. And then our goal for next year, for this year, is to get to 4 out of 5 tickets to be deflected or no touch. All right, and then what is next? So 2 other things that we are focused on next. One is live agent handoff. So one of the examples that I shared with you is still creating a ticket. We want to get rid of tickets completely. We want to have this notion of if R2DB or your Moveworks agent is not able to solve the problem, you are immediately dropped into a live agent discussion with the agent so they can solve the problem. And so you can significantly reduce the number of tickets that are coming in. And then also, we are already rolled out hire to retire in some cases, but we are focused on further integration with Workday and other tools to make that a full-fledged application within the same agent bot that we are using. All right, I'll switch topics. One of the things that Varun talked about is this notion of AI Genie. And so we have a product called AI BI Genie. And so one of the things a lot of customers struggle with is they have these data islands or data silos, and they have a lot of data that is locked in data analytics. And then when you're talking to these agents, you can you can reason with unstructured data, but you also want to reason with structured data, not just unstructured data. And what Genie enables you to do is do text to SQL. So you can essentially you can write in English language, and you can convert that into it converts it in the background using to SQL. And the advantage here is now you can use a large language model and do text to SQL as well. But a large language model doesn't understand your schema. We have a Unity catalog, which is the governance layer, which understands your schema and understands the popularity of the tables that you're using so that it picks the right table, because you could have probably 10 or 20 or 100 tables with the same name customer. So which table do you pick from when you think about customer? And that's one of the big challenges that companies run into. And that's where Genie does a great job with. And then you can use the Genie API either in Moveworks as this example, and you can use it in the marketplace. It's available on the Moveworks marketplace, but you can also use it as a standalone API. Okay? That was a bit about, hopefully, a tour de force of what we have done with Moveworks, where we are going, and then how we are partnering with Moveworks on the Genie AI space. So as I started, I talked about IT can be the vanguards in the AI age. It's an incredible time to be an IT practitioner, and I'm glad to be coming in here talking to you. Look forward to having a conversation later today as well. Thank you so much.